Before opening today's event, I'd just like to introduce Wendy, who will actually open the event today. Wendy is the CEO of HTSA. She's previously spent 11 years at the National Heart Foundation as the Director of Cardiovascular Health. She then drove key national and state research projects for the Wardley-Paringa Aboriginal Research Unit here at SAMRI, the South Australian Health and Medical Research Institute, as Senior Research Translation Manager, and as the Executive Officer of the SA Aboriginal Chronic Disease Consortium. As CEO of Health Translation SA, she advocates to bring together the expertise and strengths of partner organizations to accelerate the rate of translation of evidence into healthcare to improve the health system and positively impact patient outcomes. So I'd like to welcome Wendy onto the stage. Thanks.
Thank you, and lovely to be here. And I know we've got lots of people who are joining online and here in person, and we look forward to them arriving. So come on in as you get here, no problem at all. We know the traffic is crazy with good old Clips or whatever it's called now. Look, it's great to be here. And firstly, I'd just like to acknowledge we're meeting on Kaurna land and pay my respects to Kaurna people, the cultural, spiritual and physical and emotional connection with the land. And also honour and pay my respects to Kaurna elders, both past, present and emerging, and for all for now and into the future. And just to note that the voice to Parliament is something that's in the media this morning, and I don't know if you heard that, but I think we all need to really be really informed about the voice to Parliament and the role that we can play as advocates for our Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander colleagues if in fact we are going to close the gap. So I just encourage you to read good information and be really informed about the position of the voice to Parliament, because there's stuff in the media this morning that to me is really quite disturbing. So I really, invite you to be an advocate for our Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander colleagues and communities across Australia and be a voice for change. So with that, I'd like to actually empower you all to be part of this summit today and to really think about what the role that consumers play, that the community plays in driving the research agenda. And it's really important at the moment and into the future that the voice of the community is actually part of the research agenda. For way too long, it hasn't been. It's actually been driven predominantly and almost solely by the research community. We know that is changing, and we know that there is a huge opportunity for consumers, community voices, whatever they look like, across the whole of Australia and internationally, to be driving and guiding the research agenda. And for that, I feel really privileged to be part of this summit today to get that conversation or to continue that conversation. Health Translation SA is very committed to this agenda. We absolutely believe in how important it is to reorient the research world around the voice and the needs of our Australian society. And for that to be driven and noted by all. So having the summit today for those reasons is really important. We've been actually having these sort of events over the last few years, and the goalposts have been changing, and you're all part of that change. Firstly, just to say that we do have support services around that if people are triggered by things that happen in these kinds of environments, please don't hesitate to reach out to those. So I thank, we're hosting this event with others. We've got Sham, who's here today, who's been a fabulous advocate for SAMRI, but we also have a consumer engagement action group that has partners from all of Health Translation SA. Health Translation SA is a partnership organisation. I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a moment, but you can see the logos across the bottom of the slide, and there's actually one missing, which is CSIRO, who's recently joined Health Translation SA, and they are the ones that we are driving change with. So that's our role, is pulling together agendas across our partnership to actually make a difference in the health and medical research space. Importantly, getting the translation of research into practice. And this is all an important part of today's journey. So housekeeping, just briefly, in case there's an emergency, the assembly point is outside in front of the Royal Adelaide Hospital. Toilets are in the foyer, women's and men's over that side. Tea, coffee and water is available at all times, and during the break there will be breaks for morning tea and for lunch. Photos and videos will be taken today, so if you don't want to be part of the a photo, please put a sticker on your name tag and we'll make sure you are not part of a photo. Otherwise, you are. So please let us know if you don't want to be. So just briefly, our vision, I've already mentioned this, is really about accelerating research findings into healthcare practice and policy and increasing whole of system research translation capacity. What does that mean? It means giving people the skills, expertise, understanding and knowledge of how to do it. And this is what today's about, because what we know, and I've actually just been talking to all of our partners in the last 2 weeks, and actually we have a representative board and we have a member from each of those parties who I've been chatting with, and this is a priority area for all of them. What we know is the way people get funded for research has changed in the last few years, and there is a more and more importance being placed on the voice of the consumer and community, so people get it. So we work in this way, we work to build capacity in this area, and we work as an independent catalyst and broker, so we can actually rally the troops and go, oh, come on, this is an important thing over here, come on, let's get together. There's an important area over here, let's see who's there, who can work with us. So that's really the role we play. And as I said, we have those 11 partners which are really looking at research, action and impact. What difference does it make? What matters? How can we actually make the changes that are needed? So the way we work is we have an impact pathway where we look at activities and they go through development of outputs, outcomes, creating impact, and then looking at how they get scaled and sustained. Okay, so it's really about that end result. And what we know in the research impact world and the translation world is there's points of translation all along that pathway. It doesn't just wait till the end where you finish your job and go, okay, let's see what difference we can make now. It's actually what difference you can make from the start. Who's in the room at the start of the conversation instead of who's in the room at the end. They hopefully are similar people, but you might have brought in some new ones. Have you got policy people in the room at the start? Do they know what's going on? Are consumers, community members actually there helping to determine priorities? Or is it just the people with the, it's all about that stuff. Who is on that impact journey with you? And so we work closely with education and training people, policy people, consumers and community members, other key stakeholders, the research community, of course, and health services, because we're about identifying what matters to health services and then really orienting around that. I wanted to just say before I wrap up and hand back to Agustina, is that in terms of the community and consumers, it's about not only having the voices heard throughout the whole journey, it's actually recognising the value of that contribution. It's making sure that community members are paid to actually be experts in their area. It's making sure that they are recognised on grants as investigators. It's making sure that they are recognised in publications because their contribution is valuable. Now, this is stuff that we think is actually almost normal now, thinking about that, those opportunities to have involvement right through the things I mentioned, making sure they're recognised through payment, making sure they're recognised through involvement in grants and also in publications and everything else on the journey. But this is not the normal news. This is not what everyone's thinking. It almost is. We're getting there, but we've still got a long way to go. So you guys all need to be advocates in this space as well. We all need to have a voice to say this stuff matters and we need to contribute and we need to recognise. So I know that's what the purpose of today is. It's about building that. It's about building diversity in amongst our consumer and community groups so that we ensure that that voice is a voice, a true voice of the Australian population and public, but it's really about how do we make sure that that voice is heard, recognised and reported. So with that, we have a strategy. You can all have a look online. It's really important for us to bring the right people together, enhance the environment so that people can do this stuff in a better way so it can be accelerated. And we focus on projects just so that we can have exemplars where we can show people how this is done well. Health Translation SA has 6 flagship programs of work that are done under our umbrella, and they all represent collaborations where consumers, clinicians, researchers, policy people, etc., come together to work on that impact pathway. So please, I encourage you to have a look more closely at our work or have a chat with anyone who's here today. I won't go into that in too much detail, but I'll just mention quickly why we're here. That's probably a pretty important thing, apart from the consumer voice, but it's about reducing research waste. It's about making sure that the research outcomes are actually applied, important, and that we do, in fact, not take a really long time to put whatever research is available into practice, but we do what we can when we can. So I'll leave it at that, but hopefully that's been an opportunity to just talk about why we're here, what value having a summit and bringing people together to talk about this, but really challenging you all to be advocates in this space and work with us to make a difference across the state and across Australia in ensuring the community voice is loud and heard. Thank you.